Hey guys, welcome back to Radical Living Podcast. We are super excited for this episode. Just straight away, I want to say thank you to Jamie from MadeforMoreNI who agreed to have this conversation with me. Within this conversation, we chat about vision, faith, we talk about identity, and it is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we also chat about mental health, especially within young people, but we also chat about it within adults as well. So some really important insight, and thank you to Jamie for sharing what he shared. He also talks about MadeforMoreNI and how that happened, and we really hope that you guys are challenged by what was talked about. We hope that you're encouraged from what you hear, but also that you're just empowered to take that radical step, to make a choice and to stand out from the crowd. We were all made different, especially Made for More highlights that. So we're all unique. We all have our own DNA that is different from everybody else. And you know what? We were made to make a difference. So we hope you enjoy this episode. Grab a cup of tea, coffee, whatever you're doing in the car, if you're chilling out, whatever it is. But please listen intently to what Jamie has to say. We're going to talk about Made for More. What sparked that vision? And could you tell us a little bit about what you did before it?
Absolutely. So I used to be a teacher, a PE teacher. So football coaching, rugby coaching, basketball, badminton, you name it.
Everything.
Everything. That was my sort of go-to. And I absolutely loved it. Initially worked in a grammar school in Belfast, just down the road from my house. And for the first 2 years, just straight out of uni, I found myself in just the most amazing environment, teaching PE with a couple of other Christian guys. We would pray together, we would just do life together, and just love the kids. And I look back and I felt like I was a youth leader. Do you know what I mean? Like I was teaching, but I just was able to really love the kids and share about my faith and make a difference. And I thought, this is me for life. You know, I'm just married, I've got this amazing job, and all my friends work here. And then the budget cuts came in, and I was made redundant. And it was a real tough time. Like I look back and it was quite clearly I was depressed at the time, and just devastated to lose something I loved. And in terms of faith wise, I wrestled with God, like why are you taking me from here? Yeah. Like every day I go in there to glorify you, but you know, you're taking me out of it. I don't really understand. And at that time, a friend spoke a word over me, and he just said that you would never leave here if God hadn't taken you from here. And at the time, I was like, I don't want to hear that. That's awful. All right, keep that to yourself. Yeah. But I look back now, and it really was a word from God. And I found myself teaching then in a school in Newcastle. I got a job again straight away, and I went up to a school in Newcastle and County Down, and was head of boys PE up there, and it was just a very, very different place. It wasn't filled with other Christians. I didn't find myself in a community that allowed me to flourish in that way. In fact, I found it really difficult for the first couple of years to be myself, and it just took me a while to find my feet there. And once I did, I kind of found myself just asking God, like, so why am I here? You know, what did you bring me here for, and what do you want me to do? Yeah. And at that moment, I felt God telling me, well, I don't want you to be in teaching for the rest of your life. You know, and a real sense that I needed to leave teaching and serve God in some other form of ministry or work or whatever it might be. But I love to teach the Bible. It's just something I've been passionate about since I came to faith at 19, and I just thought, okay, this is what God wants me to do with my life. Yeah. So I started pushing doors and trying to apply for some jobs and leave teaching, and just nothing would open. And there was another job came up. It was actually a job back in the old school I used to work in. Okay. And I thought, I can go back. This is my chance to go back. But God was telling me, but no, I don't want you to be a teacher anymore. And at that moment, I decided not to apply for that job, and instead to just sit where I was and wait until God opened and revealed to me where He wanted me to go. And it was a big decision. It was a tough decision, but I think in that moment, God then completely transformed my heart.
Yeah.
It was as if I'd actually finally put my hand up and said, God, I'm willing to go.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, but now you wait. And he took me into a waiting season, and most people here listening probably know that God does that all the time.
Yeah.
And that's when he teaches you and he molds you. And for me then, I'm in this school and God is just completely molding me and shaping me for my future.
Yeah.
You know, I become head of Learning for Life and Work. Not because I particularly had an interest in it, but because I saw that it was an opportunity to shape our young people with kingdom principles, to be in charge of topics that actually really matter to the young people's lives. And then from there, God just started to show me issues in the young people's lives. He was just revealing to me that these kids are broken and they need loved. And it just changed very much who I was. I think I went back to who I'd been when I was younger and initially started teaching. It wasn't just all about teaching and results. It was back to, I care about these kids and their lives are a mess and I want to make a difference. And then I just kind of journeyed, and it ended up being there for 6 years. All the time waiting, all the time sort of wondering, when am I going to leave? Where's God going to take me? But all the time being molded and transformed myself. And God then just gave me a word one year, identity. And every time I sat down with young people, whether in a pastoral care meeting or one-on-one, God was just showing me this young person's life is a real mess because they have no idea who they are and why they're here. They don't know that I love them. They don't know that I created them, that I want a relationship with them. And they're trying to find answers to life in all the wrong places. So, you know, just a lot of angry young men, you know, just basically making life really difficult for themselves because they had so much anger and they didn't know what to do and who to turn to. A lot of drug and alcohol problems just across, you know, a lot of year groups because that's just the cultural norm. A lot of young girls just desperate to be loved and shown affection, so willing to find it anywhere. And for me, as I sat in these conversations and meetings, I'm just saying that's an identity issue. Yeah. These kids don't know who they are, and everything in me wants to tell them, but you can't. Especially in the school I was in, you couldn't have that conversation. So that led me then to say, God, you've given me this word. Like, what do I do with it? I know you want me to leave teaching. I know it has to be around something to do with identity and who you are and who we are. So what do I do with that? So again, I kind of wrestled. And I was sitting one day in the gym before school. I always went to the gym in the mornings. And I was listening to a podcast. And I can't remember what it was about. But it was very clearly God saying to me, I want you to do this. Yeah. I want you to set up this organization. Not to partner with anyone else. Not to find a job in something that already exists. My heart for you is to set up an organization. It's going to be called Made for More. Yeah. It's going to teach Learning for Life and Work in schools in a way that has a gospel-centered message. You're going to teach the Bible. You're going to tell people who I am, who they are, and you're going to go from there. And I was like, so this is all happening like on a Thursday morning in the gym, you know, and I'm going, like, what do you do with that? Yeah. So remember I got into the car and I said to my wife, okay, this is what I'm thinking. Yeah. And she goes, okay. And who's going to fund it? And I was like, I think God's going to provide the money for us. She goes, okay, well, when do you want to do it? And this was like in end of April. And I went, I think I need to leave school at the end of June, a couple of months. And she goes, okay, let's do it. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? It's not what you're meant to say. You're home for a no. You're meant to be the reasonable one here and telling me, don't be so rash. But she knew my heart, and she had seen God, just shaping me and molding me over the years, and she very much had faith that God will provide and God will do what we need him to do. And so the next few months I just went on this journey of just asking questions. Yeah. Is there a need? How would this work? How do you do it? How do you set up a charity? What do you do? Yeah. And then within a few months I left teaching, and Made for More was born. Wow. And here we are. 2.5 years later.
Yeah, just really interesting. And I think anybody that's listening, especially like in the middle of the current pandemic and situation that's going on, I think quite a lot of us feel like we're waiting and feel like, you know, we're asking questions as to why is this happening, what's going to happen next, what do we do, how do we do it. I think it's, you know, in your experience, I think it's just an important reminder to use what's in your hands.
Absolutely, and a waiting season is never a wasted season. Like,
Yeah.
and when you read through the Bible, like a waiting season is very often maybe represented by a period in the wilderness or in a cave moment, and it's there that God very often meets people. You know, he molds them, he equips them in the silence and in the solitude. Those moments are difficult. Being in the wilderness is hard. It's difficult, but it's when you realize who God is, and it's very often then that as you come to the end of that journey, you actually realize the purpose for your life, and God gives you the vision or the instruction of what to do. And when you read the Bible, you see that time and time again. You know, Moses, David, Elijah, Jesus, before he starts his ministry, heads off to the desert. And we read it because it's in a sentence, you know, 40 days, and we move on. 40 years. Yeah. But they're long seasons. Yeah. And they didn't know how long they were going to be there. Yeah. And they're wandering around, sometimes feels aimlessly. Yeah. But God has it mapped out. Yeah. And even during this pandemic, I've struggled, and I've tried to hold on to controlling things, but that's actually just stressed me out and caused me anxiety. Yeah. It's whenever I actually realize, okay, no, this is a season once again of waiting, and it's a season of God changing me, equipping me to then come out better for it. Yeah. So I just encourage people listening to lean into it. Yeah. It's uncomfortable, but it's worth it, absolutely. Yeah.
And just, you made a really good point there about, I think, you know, quite a lot of people when they read the Bible or they look at the Bible, you know, they do see that sentence, and it's like, you know, these people achieved great things, or God did amazing things in one line. But actually, if you read between the lines, there were so many years in between that people just had to keep digging deep, and keep pressing in, like you're saying. Jamie, coming off from that, what does radical mean to you?
Radical, good question. I think radical, it's countercultural for me. It's this idea of you don't really care what anyone else thinks. Yeah. You know, and that's very much countercultural. And in this sense, then it's the live a radical life for Jesus. It's saying, I'm going to live a countercultural life. My life is not going to look like everyone else, and I don't care. Yeah. You know, and even myself, like leaving my job, like telling other people in the school, even telling the principal, like, listen, I'm leaving here to go to a job that doesn't exist yet, for money that doesn't exist yet, because I love Jesus. It doesn't make sense. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I actually don't really view myself as radical. Like, people are like, Flip, I can't believe you did that. Like, to me, honestly, like I kind of feel it wasn't easy, but it was surprisingly how easy it was, though, compared to other decisions in my life. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I just felt it was so right. And when you're countercultural and you do things that you feel God calling you to, you just know it's right. And I'm not one to just kind of, you know, be countercultural for the sake of it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like that's not what Jesus is telling us to do. It's love other people, though, put them first. Yeah. You know, seek his kingdom. That's what it means to be radical, not just winding people up to be, you know, for the sake of it. Yeah.
Or to make a point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, like if it's not going to glorify God and love other people, then why do it? And I just think that's what it means to be radical, to kind of just put God first. And even when it's uncomfortable, and even when you don't want to do it, you know, you still go, okay, but that's where the Spirit's leading me. Yeah. Okay, and I'm going to put my trust in him.
Have to do it. What is, kind of take us through the current vision of Made for More and where you see it going. What's the kind of dream with it?
How long we got? So where we're at now, so Made for More and what we do is our heart is identity and culture is probably our two buzzwords. So we're a Christian charity that puts Jesus at the center of everything we do. Yeah. And when it comes to teaching the Bible, going into schools and talking at assemblies, scripture unions, videos on Instagram, all that type of stuff, our key message is you have been created by God for a relationship with God. And we want people to know that. We're built on Ephesians 2:10, which starts off by saying, you're God's masterpiece. All right. And we just want people, young people all across the country, to know that it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter what possessions you have. It doesn't matter how many followers you have. You are God's masterpiece. And that through Christ Jesus, you are a new creation. And he has a plan for your life. And that's our identity and that's our purpose. To have this relationship with Jesus where we seek him and follow him. So when it comes to our church work, that's what we're all over. Like, we just love going in to teach the Bible. Here, this is who God is, right? Yeah. This is how amazing he is. This is how much he loves you. And because of who he is, this is who you are. You are a child of God. You're sons and daughters of the King. Yeah. And born out of that then is purpose and identity. And as well as that, we love to talk into culture, because the reality is the culture around us is trying to shape us and mold us. You know, it's Romans 12 verse 2, that idea, you know, do not conform. The culture we live in wants us to conform. So again, when we're talking to young people about this is your identity, this is who God is, you also need to be aware that, but this is who the culture is trying to tell you are. These are the lies from the enemy. Yeah. These are some of the traps that are sitting waiting for you. We want to help them navigate that. So when we teach the Bible, those are our sort of two buzzwords. And we go to churches, we go to youth groups, we do full sermons, we do leader training, we do scripture union talks, we do assemblies. Yeah. Basically, we'll go anywhere people ask to teach the Bible, and we try to focus on those two things. But as well as that, though, with my teacher hat on then, it was this idea that, but we need to get into schools. Yeah. And we need to get into non-Christian environments. We want to go to them rather than bring them to us. So how do we do that? There's only so many schools and places that will let you just come in and teach the Bible. So we were like, again, from my past, well, what's the gap? What are schools not currently providing for young people? What do they not have time and resources to do? And it was a lot of learning for life and work. Yeah. You know, it's mental health, it's self-esteem, it's drugs, it's alcohol. So we have then created workshops and resources to go and do that in schools. And they're, in a sense, they're non-faith-based. We'll go in and we teach the curriculum in a really fun and engaging way. Like before COVID, you know, we could have 200 young people in an assembly hall listening to a talk on self-esteem or mental health, but there's music pumping, there's beach balls flying around, there's games. They're getting taught, but they're having a lot of fun. Yeah. But the core of it, the core of those workshops, although we don't mention Jesus, everything about the workshops is about kingdom principles. Yeah. So we start every workshop by letting young people know you matter, your life matters, who you are matters. We want you to make better choices and better decisions based on that. And we want you to love other people better as well. So treat them better because their life matters and they have value. So, you know, even that message, like some kids never hear that. Yeah. Some kids think they're just a number, one of thousands of people in their school. And just to hear someone at the front, you know, maybe look directly at them and let them know you matter, you know, your life is important. That's just a really important message to us. So we go in and we do that in schools, and that's been received really well. And now we're at the point, you know, we're linking up with the Education Authority, and more doors are being opened, which is cool. And then from that, we link them into our social media, you know, so cool. we don't preach at them, you know, or anything like that, but we just say to them, listen, you want to follow us, find out what we do, check out our merch, you know, all that type of stuff, then give us a follow on Instagram. And we then very intentionally use our social media platform to share hope and love and Jesus. Yeah. And that's been really successful. And we've seen, obviously, that as a platform grew quite a lot. And we're starting to now, be in a place where we feel we can have a real voice and influence. So that's kind of where we're at. We've just employed, so we're 2.5 years into Made for More's life. We've now employed 2 other full-time members of staff. Brilliant. We've got 3 volunteers who part-time come in and help, and we've got 3 interns, part of an internship program. So at the minute, we're just trying to reach as many young people as we can. Yeah. And I kind of before COVID hit, we were probably looking to employ 2 more staff members because we were just turning so many places down. I'm hoping within the next, sort of 6 to 8 months, we'll still do that and get really back on our feet and back going.
Yeah.
And then just long term, we're sort of open to it.
Yeah.
We want to reach as many young people as we can for Jesus. We want to be in as many schools and churches as we can. I think I would love, in 10 years' time to be sitting here talking to you about how we now have counsellors who go into schools and just listen and help.
Yeah.
But they're Christians and they've got Jesus at the centre of what they do. I'd love to, have a bigger office facility where we can bring church leaders and people in and train them so we can send them out. I don't know. Maybe we'll be in different countries. Honestly, we hold Made for More of an open hand, and we just very much say, God, where are we going?
Yeah.
And we try to be faithful.
Yeah, but I think that's such an exciting part of the journey too, where you are literally just saying, God, I don't know where we're going, but we'll go wherever you take us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in my first year, I sat under the stairs of my church office. They gave me a desk literally under the stairs, and it was like Harry Potter, right, sitting in the cupboard, and I was running around like just a muppet, trying to get to schools and get to church, get to youth club, and I was just like this one-man band, just trying to just serve God. And now fast forward, a couple of years, and we're sitting here in our office space. Yeah, we've got a full team. Yeah, and we're looking to grow. Yeah. You just have no idea what God can do if you're just willing to say, here I am. Yeah. Use me, know. So it's exciting. It's nerve-wracking as well, but
I'm sure
exciting.
It is, yeah. And just that whole message that you're trying to bring kids is just so important. And that's something that's just being attacked day after day after day, is this whole thing about identity. And probably, I don't know, but even working with people and working with kids myself, they have this just this unrealistic view or image of what they think their life should look like, what they think they should look like, and their identity's just got lost in it.
Absolutely. And again, it's this idea that the world is trying to shape us and mold us. Even you go back to Genesis chapter 3, the fall, the enemy straight away tries to deceive Adam and Eve and say, can you really trust God? Yeah. And he even attacks their identity. Do you really want to serve this God? Or how about you eat the fruit and you can be God? You can know the difference between good and evil. You can be just like him. And we're still buying into those lies. This idea that I don't need God. I can't trust him. He's not real. I want to be God. I want to be worshipped. I want to be happy. Yeah. I want to fulfill my desires. And we just see that play out constantly, in people's lives. And the worst place is social media. It's fueling the flames of young people who just see perfection as they think perfect lives, perfect family, the perfect bodies, the cars, the job, everything's fake. Yeah. But they strive for it. Yeah. And it's so sad. And we wrestled at the start, do we want to use Instagram? Because it's a big part of the problem. But our heart is to redeem Instagram. Yeah. That's very much why we use it. Yeah. So as young people are scrolling through, hours on their phone, and it's just maybe constant images of beautiful celebrities and friends with supposedly perfect lives, and they're struggling and they're feeling down, they're feeling insignificant. The enemy's telling them you're not good enough. Yeah. You're not pretty enough, you're not smart enough, you don't have enough friends, all this stuff. As they're going through this process online, then we just hope all of a sudden then they see a Made for More message, a picture of love and hope, or one of our videos, a testimony about how God has changed someone, or a story, from the Bible. And so that's why we're there. Yeah. We're there to try and redeem it. But it is a big part of the problem, and I think it's just this, again, it's this desire to be like God for too many of us. And even as Christians, we slip into it. We want to be happy, we want to be comfortable, satisfied, and we want other people to like us. Yeah. And in some cases to worship us, and that's not what we've been created for. No. And instead it's trying to get young people to realize, okay, I've been made to glorify God. I've been made for a relationship with him. everything else needs to be born out of that, rather than I'll get all my stuff together, I'll get myself sorted out, and then I'll go to God. It's like, no, bring him your mess, come as you are, and let him then transform you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jamie, you just touched on a lot there, and you kind of were touching on earlier just about different parts of the ministry and the organisation, and talked about schools and events, and I just dive a little bit deeper into the merch, because like for young people, fashion's such a big thing, and I know your heart is more than just fashion, and it's more than just somebody having a fleece or a hoodie. What is your aim behind the merch?
Yeah, so I was saying to you earlier on before we were recording, just like the merch was kind of just, the idea came from me not wanting to rock up to schools and churches, just looking like a muppet, like, who's this guy off the street, and I thought I need something with our logo on it that says who we are, and from there the idea came that this is actually a message. When you were a Made for More fleece, hat, jumper, whatever it might be, you are actually walking around with made and 2x, which is Ephesians 2:10. So you're basically a walking conversation. Yeah. And very quickly we realized that and started to be like, okay, we need to get this out there. We need to basically try and get as many people wearing this as possible to start conversations. And when you buy the merch, whatever it might be, you get a share card, and on that wee share card is Ephesians 2:10, and when we explain it on the back, and the idea being that when you're out and about, like we've had so many people tell us that they're standing in a chippy and someone's staring at them, and then they kind of eventually say, what's made, or what's the 2x, and you basically have an opportunity then, if you choose to take it or not, to say that's actually Ephesians 2:10. Like it tells us that we're all God's masterpiece, that he loves us, that we are a new creation in Jesus. I've actually got a share card in my purse here. Can I give it to you? And that is powerful. And honestly, like, I'm not just saying it to promote the merch, which you can buy online, obviously.
Go check it out.
It works. We have so many people telling us about the conversations. Like, we've had a guy reach out just through our social media who saw the merch, the message, found us on Instagram, started going back to church, and through just his own journey came to faith. And maybe it just started because God wanted him to see that message, of the made and the Ephesians 2:10. Maybe that's what he needed to know. Like, we'll never know where these conversations go, but for me, it's like the new way of putting out a gospel tract. Right? You don't need to hand them out in the street. You can just wear it and walk around and live your life. And it's amazing to see so many people buying it and gifting it to people, and that's a big thing we're going to push for this Christmas. Can we get more and more people buying it and giving it to even non-Christian friends, to let them know, here, listen, you're God's masterpiece, and I've got you this. So it's been brilliant. We posted out. We had to add worldwide posting on, so it's
very good.
It's America, exciting. Canada, Australia. So even that's just cool to think it's sort of rocking around out there. But again, it's just another way God, I suppose, wants us to be creative as Christians and use our creativity to reach people. Yeah.
It'll be exciting to see where that goes as well.
Absolutely. Just need to get a few more famous people wearing it. Although the lead singer from Rent Collective, he rocks a wee bit of merch now and again.
Lovely.
So you can look out for that in his videos and stuff.
But I think the message behind it's just so important, and it's just amazing that somebody, like, there's been testimonials of people just seeing this and deciding to take that step and follow Jesus, and kind of leading on from that. And just something that we'll probably finish on, Jamie, is I know you talked about earlier your idea of, or what you think radical is actually that countercultural living it out. It's not that you're going looking to be controversial or going looking to do this to wind people up, but it's how you live your life, and that's what Jesus demonstrated in the Bible. So anybody that's listening to this, whether they're younger, older, if they're in ministry, if they're not, if they've just lost their job, if they're going into a new job, or if they're just at home walking the streets, don't know what to do, what would you say to them? How would you encourage them to take that radical step?
Yeah, I think a lot of this is just born out of out of prayer. You know, like, you know, if you're kind of questioning, like, God, what is it you want me to do in my life? You know, how can I live maybe a radical life beyond the norm? Like, for me, it started with a holy discontent, this stirring in my heart that was like, there's something more for you. And then that led to prayer.
Yeah.
And from the prayer was born this need to set up Made for More. And from that, you know, you just keep going. And so for me, it starts with prayer. Like, God, what is it you want me to do?
Yeah.
And then it also, for others, it may not be as radical as leaving a job or setting up an organization or anything like that. But it might be the fact that your home, you know, your family, how you love your kids, how you love your wife, or vice versa, that you transform your home so that other people suddenly go, what is it about that family?
Yeah.
That family is so different. I want my family to be like that. And they realize, wait a second, they're just living their life for Jesus.
Yeah.
You know, and for me, that again is just born out of, well, who is Jesus? How did he live his life? Not just what did he teach? And of course, that's so important, like the Sermon on the Mount, you know, and how to love other people. Absolutely. But also, how did he live his life? You know what I mean? Like he had time for people. Yeah. Jesus was never in a rush. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. He was always just sitting with people, having a meal, making time for them, no matter who they were. You know, he would withdraw to pray, silence and solitude. He would fast and just be in the presence of God. You know, that's the lifestyle of Jesus that I think that's radical living. Yeah. You know, to stop and slow down is countercultural. Do you know what I mean? To have people, once again, when the houses are open and COVID's gone, to have your home filled with your neighbours and who are all different from you and just love them, that's what it means to live a life radically for Jesus. So I think there's two scales to that. Some people listening to this might be prompted and they need that push to go, you know what, I need to take a step of faith and go and do something completely off the charts. You know, like set up an organization, move country, change jobs. For others, it's just basically following Jesus in the small, simple ways so that your sphere around you suddenly go, that's what it means to follow Jesus. Yeah. That's radical living. And I want it. I need it. Yeah. You know, and to be honest, that can be harder than the big step. Yeah. You know, because I know in my life, I find that harder now than the big decisions. Yeah. You know,
it's the everyday
just loving people and trying to pursue a life like Jesus. Absolutely. And for me, that when you do that, you'll be so countercultural. Yeah. Because Jesus was constantly.
Yeah. Absolutely. Guys, we hope you enjoyed our episode with Jamie. Jamie is a Liverpool supporter, so we'll just leave that there. You can go and check out MadeforMoreNI on all of their social media handles, Instagram, Facebook, and so much more. Keep an eye on their work. They're doing an incredible job, and you know what, go and support them, go and check them out. But we just want to remind everybody to head on over to Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. Leave a comment, like it, review it, share it. We want as many people to make that everyday choice to be radical. Radical is about change, it's about transformation, and we just want everybody to hear what is being done in our society today to try and make a difference and try to make a positive change and have an influence. So guys, go and check out our social media on Instagram, on Facebook, share it with as many people, and remember to make that everyday choice to be radical.